He stood at the edge of the canyon, dust blowing around his boots. His small rover made a soft hum behind him. He squinted at the thin black trail rising into the orange sky. It wasn't fire smoke. It was something colder, something sharp. It came from deep inside the rocky desert where nothing should be. Rick grabbed his scanner and climbed back into the rover. His AI unit, Bolt, floated beside him. It looked like a glowing silver ball with one blinking blue eye. Unknown object detected 3 clicks north, Bolt said. Impact confirmed. No response from distress signals. Rick leaned forward. Let's check it out. He wasn't part of the military. He wasn't even a soldier. He was just a scout, a lone explorer for the Earth Colony program. He marked land, took samples, and made maps. He had never seen a crash site before, and certainly not one from space. As the rover rolled forward, the sun dipped lower. Shadows stretched across the canyon. The smoke was closer now. It came from behind a large pile of broken rocks. Rick stopped the rover, picked up his light gun, and walked toward the smoke. Bolt floated beside him in silence. They found the pod half buried in stone. Its surface was smooth and black, shaped like a teardrop. Parts of it glowed faint green, like alien veins. Not Earth-made, Bolt whispered. Design unknown. Rick stepped closer and touched the edge. It was warm. Then he saw it. A crack along the side. Something had crawled out. Rick knelt beside the pod and found prints in the dust. Not boots, not claws. Something in between. A long stride. A light touch. Something walked away, Rick said. Just then, he heard movement. A soft scrape of rock. He turned fast, light gun raised. There, on the edge of the rocks, stood a girl. Or at least she looked like a girl. She was tall and thin, her skin pale like moonlight. Her hair was silver, cut short. She wore a tight suit that shimmered in parts like fish scales. Her eyes were large, with no whites, just soft blue glow. She didn't speak. She just looked at Rick with a strange mix of fear and calm. Rick didn't. Move! She blinked once, then turned and ran. Wait! Rick shouted, but she was already gone. She ran fast, slipping through the narrow canyon paths like wind. Rick ran after her, his boots heavy on the ground. Bolt! Track her! On it, Bolt replied, darting forward. Rick followed the glowing blue light of Bolt through the rocks. He wasn't sure why he was chasing her. She didn't attack him. She didn't say anything. But something about her, those eyes, that moment of stillness told him she was not a threat. He just wanted answers. She ran through a narrow pass and Rick followed. For a second, he lost her in the turns. But then, at the top of a ridge, he saw her again. She looked back for just a second. Their eyes met again. Then, she vanished. One moment she was there. The next, gone. Rick stood still, breathing hard. She's using cloaking tech, Bolt said. Advanced, not human level. Rick looked around. Can you track her movement? Only faint traces. She's smart. Rick sighed and sat on a flat rock. He looked at the footprints in the dust. They stopped right where she disappeared. Why? Would someone that advanced crash here? Rick asked. No idea, Bolt replied. But she left something behind. The AI floated down to a small round device lying near the edge of the rocks. It was smooth and silver with tiny blinking lights. Looks like a communicator, Bolt said. But not active. I'll scan it. Rick picked up the device and turned it over. It felt almost alive. Soft hums ran through his fingers. Should we bring it back to base? He asked. I suggest caution, Bolt replied. We don't know what it can do. Still, Rick slipped it into his bag. He looked out across the canyon again, but the alien girl was gone. For now. Back at the Scout camp, Rick sat beside his small outpost hut. The stars were out. The wind was cold. The communicator sat on the table beside him, dark and silent. Bolt floated above, scanning data. No signs of any ships nearby, Bolt said. But the device is starting to pulse. Rick looked at it. What does that mean? It's sending a signal, Bolt said. Not to us, to someone else. Rick stood slowly. Who? I don't know. The device pulsed again, a soft beep. Then again, faster this time. Turn it off, Rick said. I can't. It's locked. Then, without warning, the device blinked bright and stopped. Silence. Rick picked it up. It was cold now, dead. What just happened? He asked. It sent its message, Bolt said. Now we wait. Rick stared out at the desert. Somewhere out there, the alien girl was hiding. She had come here for a reason, and someone, or something, was coming too. He didn't know if she was running from them or leading them here. Either way, Rick knew one thing. He wasn't going to let her face it alone. The cave was quiet. Only the soft wind moved through the cracks in the rock. Rick sat beside the small light, checking his gear. Nira was nearby, sitting with her legs crossed, her hands glowing faint blue as she touched the rocky ground. She wasn't. Just alien in body. Something in her felt different. Quiet. Calm. Like the stars lived inside her. Bolt, the small AI, floated between them. They are moving, it said, blinking slowly. The hunters are scanning the outer hills. Rick nodded. How long do we have? An hour. Maybe less. Nira opened her eyes. They move fast. Always fast. Rick turned to her. Then, we need to move faster, Nira stood. I will lead the way. Rick was surprised. You know a path? She nodded. Old way, deep tunnels. Long ago, others hid here. Bolt chimed in. Mapping now. Confirmed. Natural tunnels lead east. Could exit near Sand Hollow Cliffs? That's our new direction, Rick said. They packed quickly. Nira moved without sound, her steps like wind over stone. Rick followed close, watching her carefully. She no longer seemed scared, just focused. The deeper tunnels were cold and dark. Rick held a small lantern. The walls were covered in strange marks. Not human, not machine. Symbols from another time. Nira paused beside one. She placed her hand on the wall. The symbol glowed faintly. Rick leaned closer. What does it mean? She whispered. Hope. Rick smiled. We could use some of that. They kept moving. Behind them, deep in the tunnel, a soft echo followed. A faint metallic sound. Bolt's voice came through quietly. Hunters have entered the cave, tracking heat signatures. Rick's hand moved to his light gun. Then we set traps. Nira looked at him. You fight? If I must, Rick said. I don't leave people behind. She stared at him for a moment. You are strange, he smirked. Thanks. At the next bend, Rick stopped. He found a narrow point between two stones, perfect for a trap. Bolt, he said, set the blast charge here. Small pulse, enough to knock one down. Ready, Bolt replied, dropping the small charge near the ground. Nira watched carefully. You use tricks. We call it strategy, Rick said. They moved on. As they reached a larger chamber, they heard it. Footsteps, heavy, slow, metal boots on stone. Then, boom, the trap went off. Dust filled the tunnel. A loud crack followed. Rick pulled Nira into a side path. Keep going! From behind came a deep, strange voice, not in words, but in a sound that made the rocks shake. They speak in tones, Bolt whispered. Command signals, not language. Do they know where we're heading? Rick asked. Unknown. Nira paused. They follow movement, sound. If we stay quiet, we delay them. They walked slower now, silent, careful, every step measured. But Rick's mind was racing. These hunters weren't just machines. They were something more, alive inside metal, smart, dangerous, and they wanted Nira. After some time, they reached a high point in the tunnels. Above them, a shaft opened into sunlight. We're close, Nira said. Exit near. Bolt flew up through the shaft. I see cliffs, open ground, but no signs of the enemy. Yet. Rick looked at Nira. Can you climb? She nodded. Yes. Rick boosted her first. She grabbed the stone edges and climbed quickly like she had done it many times before. Rick followed right after. His boots slipped once, but he caught himself. At the top, the sunlight burned bright. The wind was sharp, blowing across the open desert. Far below, the caves looked like tiny cracks in the land. We need to cross the cliffs, Nira said. Other side is safe. Rick looked out. Too open. No cover. Then we run, she said simply. Rick sighed. Of course. They ran across the flat stone, feet pounding the ground. Behind them, the cave shook again. A blast echoed from deep below. They're out, Bolt warned. They'll spot us soon. Rick looked at the sky. Any help coming? Earth signal is still 2 hours out. Nira suddenly stopped. She raised her hand. What is it? Rick asked. She pointed. A dark shape moved along the horizon. Another hunter. They split, she said. They try to trap us. Rick scanned the edge. We need to go down. Hide in the lower cliffs. He found a narrow path and began the descent. Nira followed, fast and light. Just as they reached a ledge, a loud sound cut through the wind, a sharp blast. A plasma bolt hit the rock behind them. The stone exploded. Rick pulled Nira down. They're shooting! Another blast flew past. Dust flew into the air. Rick aimed his light gun and fired. The shot hit the hunter's shoulder. Sparks flew, but it didn't stop. They don't feel pain, Rick said. Not like us. Nira raised her hand. A soft wave of blue light burst from her fingers. It hit the hunter and bent the air around it. The hunter stumbled, confused. You have powers, Rick said, surprised. She looked at him. I hide them, but not now. Rick grinned. Good choice. They reached the bottom of the cliffs and entered a small cave. Rick set 2 more charges at the entrance. This should hold them back for a few minutes, he said. Inside, Nira sat down, breathing hard. She looked at her hands. The glow was fading. I cannot use power for long, she said. It takes from me. Rick knelt beside her. Then rest. I'll protect us. She looked into his eyes. Why do you do this? He shrugged. Because it's right, and because no one deserves to be hunted like this. She stared at him for a long moment. "You are different," Rick smiled. "I get that a lot." Outside, the ground shook again. The hunters were coming closer, but this time Rick had a plan. "They think we're scared," he said. "They think we'll keep running." Bolt floated beside him. "What's the plan?" "We're not running anymore," Rick said. "We set a trap, right here, right now." He looked at Nira. "Can you help?" She nodded. "Yes, I will stand with you." Rick loaded his last charge, checked his gun, and took position. The enemy was coming, but this time, Rick was ready. The wind howled through the narrow cave. The sky outside was turning dark. Rick sat behind a large rock, light gun in his hand, eyes fixed on the entrance. His heart beat steady. Beside him, Nira sat quietly, her hands glowing just a little. She looked calm, but Rick knew she was tired. Bolt hovered near the top of the cave, scanning the area. 3 hunters, 2 moving in fast, 1 staying back. They are forming a triangle, surrounding us. Rick nodded. "Just as I thought. They want to trap us." He turned to Nira. "Can you still use your powers?" She shook her head. "Only small shield, not strong now." "That's fine," Rick said. "Just protect yourself. I'll take care of the rest." Nira looked at him for a moment. "Why do you fight? You could leave." Rick gave a small smile. "Because running is not always the answer. Sometimes you stand your ground." The first blast hit the cave's wall. Rocks flew in all directions. Dust filled the air. Rick didn't move. He waited. Another blast. Then silence. A shadow appeared at the cave mouth. A tall metal figure stepped in slowly. Its body shined silver. Its face was dark glass. No mouth, no eyes. But Rick could feel it staring. He pressed a button on his wrist. Boom! A hidden charge exploded near the entrance. Fire and smoke filled the cave. The hunter flew backward into the rocks. Rick stood and aimed. He fired his light gun. The blast hit the hunter's chest. Sparks flew. The metal giant stood again, damaged, but not stopped. It raised its arm and shot a red beam. Rick ducked, the rock behind him burning from the hit. "Bolt! Flank it!" Rick shouted. Bolt zipped around the side, distracting the hunter. Rick ran forward, jumped onto a high rock and shot again, this time at the joints. The hunter dropped to one knee. Then Nira stood. She raised both hands, and her blue light formed a soft wave. It moved like wind, circling the hunter. The metal shook, slowed down, then froze. Rick fired one last shot. The hunter fell. Smoke rose from its chest. It didn't move again. Rick turned to Nira. "That was close." She nodded slowly. "One is down, others still come." Just then, the ground shook again, harder than before. Bolt floated in quickly. "A second ship is landing." Rick looked out of the cave. In the sky, another silver ship was lowering itself down. Bigger, heavier. "They brought more," Rick said. Nira's voice was quiet. "They won't stop. They want me back." Rick looked at her. "Why? What are you to them?" She sat down slowly. "I am not one of them. I was made from them. I was created by their machines, but I became something else." "Something they can't control?" Rick asked. She nodded. "Yes, I escaped. They call me broken. I call me free." Rick looked out again. "They want to control you again," she whispered. "They fear me." Bolt's voice came back in. "Second ship has deployed 5 more hunters, all moving toward this location. ETA. 10 minutes. Rick stood. "Then we don't stay here." But where will we go? Nira asked. Rick smiled. We don't go far, just far enough. Rick led them through a small crack in the back of the cave. It opened into a narrow tunnel leading to a high ridge above the cliffs. From there, the whole canyon could be seen. We make our stand here, Rick said. He set up traps. Old mines, smoke bombs, flash charges. Bolt helped mark the ground. Nira helped too. She touched the rocks, left soft blue marks. Energy net, she said. Weak, but it may slow them. Rick placed the final charge and turned to her. Ready? She nodded. I will not run anymore. Soon. The first two hunters appeared on the ridge. They stepped forward, silent, scanning the air. Then, click. One of them stepped on a mine. Boom! The blast tore up the ground, throwing dust and fire. Rick opened fire. The flashes of his gun lit the rocks. One hunter fell, its leg broken. The other turned and fired. Nira jumped to the side, rolled, and sent out a blast of blue energy. The beam bent and hit the hunter's head. It shook, confused. Rick shot again. The second hunter dropped, but more were coming. Now 3 hunters appeared at once. They were smarter, faster. They moved in a line, watching each step. Rick ducked behind. A rock. They're learning. Bolt flew fast above. Incoming from the left! One of the hunters had taken a different path. It appeared behind Rick, aiming at his back. Nira turned fast and raised her hand. She jumped between Rick and the shot. The blast hit her shield. It cracked, but held. Rick spun and shot back, hitting the hunter in the arm. Nira finished the job. Her energy pushed the hunter off the cliff. The last 2 hunters moved in close. Rick was out of ammo. He picked up a sharp stone and charged. One hunter grabbed him. But then, a bright flash lit the sky. Above, in the clouds, a blue light ship appeared. It wasn't alien, it was human. Earth support ship inbound, Bolt shouted. They received our distress call. The hunters paused, scanning the sky. The Earth ship opened its doors. Drones flew out, firing precise laser blasts. One hit a hunter's chest. Another blasted its back. The final hunter turned to run, but Nira stepped forward. She raised both hands and released a wave of pure light. It hit the last hunter like a storm. When the light faded, the hunter was gone. The ridge was quiet again. Smoke drifted into the sky. The human ship landed slowly beside the rocks. Soldiers stepped out, checking the area. Rick stood up, breathing hard. We made it! Nira looked at the ship, then at Rick. You called them. He nodded. I couldn't do this alone. One of the soldiers walked up. Is she the alien you mentioned? Rick nodded again. Her name is Nira, and she's not a threat. She saved my life. The soldier looked at her carefully, then gave a slow nod. Understood. Later, as the sun set again, Rick and Nira sat beside the landing pad. The wind was soft now. The danger was gone. For the moment. Nira looked up at the stars. They will come again. Rick looked too. Then we'll be ready again. She turned to him. Together, he smiled. Together. The desert was quiet again. The battle was over. The Earth ship had landed safely, and the hunters were gone, destroyed or pushed back. Rick sat on a metal box near the ship's ramp, watching the red sun sink below the hills. His body was sore. His arms scratched, but he was alive. Nira stood a few steps away, staring into the sky. She looked calm, but Rick could feel a storm inside her. Bolt, the floating AI, hovered near them. Its blue light blinked slowly. "No more enemy signals in this area. We are clear." But Rick knew the danger wasn't gone. Not really. He looked at Nira. "You've been quiet." She turned slightly, her glowing blue eyes catching the last light of day. "I'm thinking." "About what?" he asked. She walked closer and sat on a flat rock across from him. Her hands were resting on her knees. "About who I am. About who I used to be." Rick tilted his head. "I think it's time you told me everything." She nodded slowly. "Yes, you deserve to know." There was silence for a moment. Then Nira began to speak. Her voice was soft but clear. "I was created in a lab, on a planet far from here. The place had no name, only numbers. I was not born, I was built. My body was shaped from parts of many species. Human, alien, machine. They were trying to make something perfect." Rick listened closely. "I was part of a program," she continued. "They called it the Mirror Project. The goal was to copy strength, speed, memory, everything. They took the best from different life forms and put them in one being." She looked at her hands. "I was that being. I was their success, and also their failure." Rick leaned forward. "Why failure?" "Because I became more than they expected," she said. "I began to think for myself. I asked questions. I didn't follow orders. I escaped." "Were they the hunters?" Rick asked. She nodded. "Yes. The hunters were made to find things that run. They tracked me across 2 planets. I stayed ahead, until I crashed here." Rick sat back and took a deep breath. "So, they don't want to destroy you. They want to control you again." "Yes," she said. "They want me to be a tool, a weapon, something without will. But you are not that," Rick said firmly. "No," she replied. "I am not." There was a long pause between them. Only the soft wind moved through the sand. Then Nira looked up. "But I have a fear, Rick." "What is it?" "If your people find out what I am, they may fear me too." Rick didn't answer right away. He understood what she meant. She was powerful, not fully human, built to be a weapon. Many would see her as a threat. But Rick didn't see a weapon when he looked at her. He saw someone who wanted freedom, someone who protected others, someone who chose to be kind when she could have chosen destruction. He stood and walked toward her. "Let me tell you what I see." She looked up at him, silent. "I see someone brave, someone who escaped her past, someone who risked her life to save mine." Her eyes blinked slowly. "I see someone who's more human than most humans." "I've met," Rick said. Nira gave a small smile. "You are strange." "I know," Rick replied. Suddenly, Bolt gave a sharp beep. New signal detected. Rick turned. "What kind?" "Not enemy. It's from the Earth ship. Commander wants to meet the alien survivor." Nira stood slowly. "They will judge me." "Then let me stand with you," Rick said. They walked together toward the ship. The large metal ramp was down. At the top stood a woman in silver armor, Commander Vale. Her face was firm but calm. Rick saluted. "Commander," she nodded. "Scout?" "Rick. We received your report. This is the alien girl?" "She has a name," Rick said. "Nira." The commander looked at her carefully. "We scanned your DNA. You are Advanced. More than human. Nira stayed silent. You helped stop the hunters, the commander said. But Earth Command will want to study you. Rick stepped forward. With respect, Commander, she doesn't belong in a cage. She's not a subject. She's a person. The commander studied Rick's face, then looked at Nira again. You saved our scout's life. That counts, she said. You will not be taken by force, but you must come with us. Earth will decide. Nira looked at Rick. Should I go? He thought for a moment, then nodded. You're not running anymore. Let's face this together. That night, the ship rose from the desert floor and flew into the stars. Rick and Nira sat in a small room near the back, watching the stars outside the window. So, Rick said, what will you tell them when they ask who you are? Nira thought for a moment. Then she said, I will tell them I am free. Rick smiled. That's a good start. She looked at him. And what will you tell them? I'll say this, Rick said. She's not a danger. She's proof that we can become more. That humanity isn't just in our blood, but in our choices. Nira rested her head against the wall. Then maybe Earth is not as far from me as I thought. No, Rick said softly. It's closer than ever. The Earth ship moved smoothly through space. Stars passed by the window like small lights, far and cold. Rick sat beside Nira in the long, quiet hallway of the Earth Command ship, named Silver Path. Soldiers passed now and then, but most gave them space. Nira wore a gray jacket now, one given to her by the crew. Her face was calm, but Rick knew she was nervous. He could feel it in the way her fingers tapped the seat and how she kept looking at the metal door across the hall. Behind that door, Earth Command waited. They had called for a hearing. They wanted to know what Nira was, what she could do, and whether she was safe to keep alive. Rick hated the word hearing. It felt like a trap. You don't have to speak if you don't want to, Rick said quietly. Nira looked at him. I will speak. I must speak. If I stay silent, they will only see fear. He nodded. Just tell them the truth. I'll be there. The door opened with a soft hiss. A tall officer stepped out. His name was Major Wren, a man with short black hair and a serious face. They're ready, he said. Rick and Nira stood and followed him inside. The hearing room was wide and round. In the center stood a metal platform with a soft blue light under it. Around the platform sat 5 officers from Earth Command, all wearing dark suits with silver lines. Behind them, large screens showed files, reports, and maps from the desert. Planet Commander Vale was also present, standing near the side. She gave Rick a short nod as if saying, "Stay strong." Major Wren motioned for Nira to step on the platform. Rick stood beside her. One officer, an older woman with white hair and sharp eyes, spoke first. Nira, you are not human. Your DNA is mixed. You were created in a lab not controlled by Earth. Why did you come here? Nira answered calmly. I didn't choose Earth. I crashed. I was running from hunters who wanted to take me back. I helped destroy them. I saved one of your scouts. I am not here to fight you. Another officer, a short man with a deep voice, asked, What are your abilities? How powerful are you? I can run fast, Nira said. I can think fast. I can heal quickly. But I choose when to use these things. I don't harm unless I must. The white-haired woman leaned forward. You are dangerous. That much is clear. Rick couldn't stay quiet. So are all of us when we're scared or cornered. She looked at him. And you are? Scout Rick. I found her in the desert. She saved me. Twice. I watched her fight. I watched her stop fighting. She had the power to kill everyone in that field. But she didn't. She chose peace. A third officer, silent until now, finally spoke. She is still unknown. What if her creators come looking for her? What if they threaten Earth? They will come, Nira said. But not because of me. They want Earth now because Earth helped me. If you send me away, they will still come. If you protect me, I will stand and fight with you. There was a long silence in the room. Then, Commander Vale stepped forward. I believe her. I believe Scout Rick. I saw the battlefield. This girl isn't a weapon, she's a warning. A sign that others are building things stronger than us. If we don't learn, we will fall behind. The older woman looked down at her tablet. We will vote now. Step outside. Rick and Nira waited in the hallway again. The door stayed shut. Time moved slowly. Nira finally spoke. If they say no, will they destroy me? Rick looked at her, his face serious. Not if I'm still breathing. She smiled. You are strange, Rick. So I've heard, he replied. The door opened again. Major Wren stood with a neutral face. The decision is made. You may come in. Back inside, the white-haired woman stood. After review, Earth Command has decided not to treat you as a hostile. You will not be locked or harmed. But you will be watched. Nira lowered her head slightly. I accept. You will be allowed to live on Earth, the officer continued, under peaceful status. You will help where needed. But if you turn against us, this decision will change. I understand, Nira said. Rick smiled. A weight lifted from his chest. Then the hearing is complete, the officer said. Welcome to Earth, Nira. Later, as the ship continued its journey, Nira and Rick stood near a wide window, looking out at the blue planet below. It's so bright, Nira said. Yeah, Rick nodded. That's home? She turned to him. It's your home. He paused, then said, It can be yours too, if you want. Nira looked down at her hands, then back at the stars. I've never had a home, but maybe now I can learn what it means. You'll learn fast, Rick said. You always do. She gave him a soft smile. For the first time in her life, Nira wasn't running. For the first time, someone stood beside her. And for the first time, Earth was not a place to hide from, but a place to protect. And she would protect it, even if her past came back to find her. The wind moved softly through the hills outside Earth Base 9. The air was fresh, with green trees, tall grass, and the sound of birds. It was a peaceful morning. Rick stood beside a small landing pad, checking his scout ship. It had been 6 weeks since Nira's hearing. Earth Command allowed her to stay under a peace agreement, but she wasn't staying quiet. She trained with Earth soldiers, helped engineers build energy shields, and studied Earth's language every day. And today, something felt different. He looked up at the sky. A bright light appeared, small at first, then growing. It was not a star. It was not a ship from Earth. It was them, the ones who made her. In the control center, alarms started to ring. Commander Vale looked at the screen. A strange ship was entering Earth orbit. It was large, black, and smooth. Its shape curved like a claw. It didn't answer messages. "They're not friendly," said the tech officer. Vale pressed a button. "Get the defense team ready." "Where's Nira?" Nira was already running toward the command room when the alarms started. Her eyes glowed faintly, the mark of her power returning. "They came faster than I expected," she said. Commander Vale nodded. "Do you know what they want?" "They will ask for me. If you say no, they will try to take me. And then they will take your world." Vale looked at her carefully. "Then we'll say no." Outside, the alien ship hovered high in the sky. It opened slowly, revealing a dark platform. A figure stepped out, tall and thin, with glowing skin and silver eyes. Its voice echoed across the sky through speakers and energy waves. "Send her to us. She belongs to the Makers." Nira stood beside Rick as the message repeated. She looked at him. "I can. Go. If I go, maybe they'll leave." "No," Rick said. "If you go, they'll only return stronger next time." She was quiet. Then she said, "Then I must stop them now." The alien ship fired a warning shot into the forest. Trees burned, soldiers raised shields. Earth Command gave the order, "Defend, fighter." Ships flew toward the alien vessel. The battle had begun. Nira and Rick ran toward the launch zone. "We can reach their ship," Rick said. "You know their tech. You can shut them down from inside." "I can try," Nira answered. "But it's not easy." They reached a fast Earth cruiser. Rick jumped into the pilot's seat, Nira beside him. "Ready?" he asked. She looked forward. Always. The ship took off, flying toward the enemy vessel through blasts of fire and light. Inside the alien ship, the halls were quiet. No guards, no traps, just silence. "They're waiting," Nira said. "They want me to come to them." They reached the control room. There the tall figure stood, the Maker. It looked at her. "You left. You are ours." Nira stepped forward. "Not anymore. I choose my path." The Maker raised a hand. A wave of force hit her, but she stood still. Rick pointed his weapon, but Nira held him back. "This is my fight." The ship shook. Earth fighters outside were still attacking. "You will break," the Maker said. "No," Nira replied. "I have something you never gave me. Freedom." She reached into the control panel and placed her hand on the main core. Her skin glowed. The ship's lights flickered. "You cannot stop us," the Maker shouted. Nira closed her eyes. Energy flowed from her. She wasn't just strong. She was their key, their weakness, their link. With a cry, she sent out a pulse of energy. The walls cracked. The machines failed. The ship dropped lower in the sky. "Rick, we need to leave." They ran back to their cruiser. Behind them, the alien ship was breaking apart. The Maker shouted, but could not stop the collapse. Nira had changed the code. She had destroyed their control. Rick flew fast, escaping as the alien vessel fell from the sky. It crashed, far outside the city, shaking the ground but not burning it. Back at base, cheers filled the air. The alien threat was gone. The war was over before it began. Nira sat beside Rick, tired but smiling. "You did it," he said. "We did it," she answered. A week later, Earth Command gave her full protection. She was no longer seen as a danger, but as a hero. People came to thank her. Children gave her drawings. Soldiers trained beside her, no longer afraid. But Nira didn't stay in the city. She moved to a small home near the forest, where she could walk in peace and hear the wind. Rick visited often. You could. Join the Scouts, he told her one day. She shook her head. I have already run far enough. I want to build something now. Grow something. He smiled. Then I'll help. Together they planted trees. Far in the sky, other stars still watched. Other threats still waited. But Earth had changed. It had learned. It had grown stronger, and now it had Nira, not a weapon, not a tool, but a person with a heart, a choice, and a reason to protect the world that gave her hope. The next morning, Rick woke early. The desert air was cold, and the sky was still dark blue. He stood outside his small outpost and looked at the place where he had left the alien device. It was still there. Silent. Cold. But something about it made him feel uneasy. Like it was still alive. Still watching. Bolt, he said. Did you learn anything else from the signal? The AI floated up beside him, its single blue eye blinking slowly. Yes, the signal was not random. It sent coordinates into space, deep space. Rick frowned. Coordinates to where? I traced the direction, Bolt said. It points toward a star system not marked on human maps. I believe it's her home. Rick looked out at the open desert. The crash site was still 3 hills away. Somewhere, out there, Nira, the alien girl, was hiding. She hadn't returned since the night before. No signs. No footprints. Nothing. Why would she crash here then call home? Rick said. It doesn't make sense. Maybe it wasn't home she called, Bolt replied. Maybe it was something else. Rick's eyes narrowed. A signal to enemies? Possibly. He didn't want to believe that. The way she looked at him, the fear, the warning, felt real. She didn't seem like someone who wanted to bring danger. She seemed like someone trying to escape it. Still, the signal changed everything. Later that day, Rick packed supplies and left the camp. He followed the path from the crash site again. This time, he moved slower, checking every rock, every shadow. He was not just chasing her now, he was tracking her. Footprints, Bolt said. Fresh. They found a trail along the ridge. The prints were light but clear, not made by boots, more like soft pads, shaped like a mix of human and animal. Rick followed them down a narrow slope, past sharp rocks and old dried plants. Then, they reached an old mining station, abandoned for years. The metal walls were rusted and the roof was half broken. Machines stood frozen in place, covered in dust. She's here, Rick whispered. He stepped carefully, light gun in hand. Bolt scanned ahead with soft hums. Inside, the building was dark. Wind blew through cracks in the wall. Rick moved from room to room, slow and quiet. Then he heard a sound, a breath. He turned fast. There she was, Nira. She stood behind a broken console, her body still, her eyes watching him. She had removed the outer layer of her suit. Her skin glowed slightly in the shadows, like starlight. She looked more alien now, her face smooth and soft, her blue eyes deeper. I don't want fight, she said slowly. Rick lowered his gun just a little. Then why did you run? She took a step forward. Because they come. Not safe. You. Not safe. Who are they? Rick asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she held up her hand and pointed to the sky. They follow, she said. Always follow. Rick moved closer. Did you send the signal to them? She looked down. Signal. Not from me. Ship sent before crash. Rick blinked. So they're already coming. She nodded. Bolt floated between them. Her words match. The data. The signal was pre-coded. Sent on impact. Nira's eyes met Rick's. I run, they chase, I hide. You, not chase me. Rick gave a small smile. I wasn't trying to catch you. I wanted to help. She looked confused. Help? Yes, he said. Help you stay safe. Help you stop them. She blinked slowly, like the word was strange to her. Human... help alien? She asked. Yes, Rick said firmly. That's what we do. Suddenly the air shook. A low hum filled the room. Rick turned to the window. A shadow passed over the canyon. Something large. Something flying. They're here, Bolt said. New ship, not human. Nira's eyes went wide. They find me. Then we move, Rick said. Come on! He grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the back door. At first she hesitated. Then she ran with him. Outside, the sky had turned dark. A silver ship floated above the canyon, silent and smooth. No lights, no sound of engines. Rick pulled Nira behind a rock. They watched the ship land in the open field near the crash site. Its doors opened. From the ship stepped 3 figures, tall, armored, metal covering their bodies, faces hidden behind black masks. They are the ones? Rick asked. Nira nodded. Hunters. They bring me back. Bolt hovered behind them. They don't look friendly. We can't fight them now, Rick said. We need to fall back. Where? Nira asked. Rick pointed to the hills. I know a cave system. They can't track us underground. Nira hesitated, then nodded. Okay. The two ran through the rocks, keeping low. Behind them, the hunters scanned the land. One of them bent down and picked something from the ground. Tracker, Bolt said. They found her print. They'll follow fast, Rick said. He turned to Nira. You trust me now? She looked at him. I don't know. But I run with you. That was enough. As the sun dropped behind the hills, Rick and Nira entered the caves. Cold air rushed past them. Inside, the walls were smooth and dark. Safe, for now. Rick lit a small lantern. The soft glow showed Nira's face. She looked tired, scared, but not alone anymore. I have questions, Rick said as they sat beside the cave wall. She nodded. And I have truths. Bolt floated nearby, watching the entrance. Do you think they'll find us? Rick asked. Yes, she said. But not yet. Rick looked at her carefully. Then we prepare. She looked into his eyes and gave a small nod. Together? Together, Rick said.